Good evening, my beautiful people. Welcome back to the My Life, My Legacy, How to Leave a Six-Figure Inheritance for Your Family or Favorite Charity webinar series masterclass. So this masterclass is actually brought to you by Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. So it is through their generosity that we're actually able to offer this class free of charge for you guys. So big shout out to Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. Make sure you go out and visit their website, Cindy's List LLC.com. That's CINDYS LLC.com. So at the end of this module, module 2, we're going to show you how you can get all of the extras with zero out-of-pocket expenses. All right. So if you recall from module 1, we talked about your EFP or your emergency funeral plan, but then we also talked about how to put the funeral home on retainer. So essentially, how to put your funeral on layaway for the most part, that you can pay off in 6 months and up to 10 years. We then showed you a simple way that you can add $50,000 to your inheritance via accidental death and dismemberment, one of the more cost-effective insurance policies that you can get on the market now. And then we showed you steps to where you can do it yourself without the need for any of the assistance of Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. Of course, if you would like to reach out to us, we'll be more than happy and honored to help you. But we showed you steps you can do it yourself. And then we went into a case study with Janet and Jessica Doe. So from that case study, we saw that Janet, who didn't have anything in order, versus Jessica, who had her things in order for the most part. So we saw the totally different contrastness of the two. So and the benefits. So we found that Jessica's family came out a little bit more better than Janet, who wasn't prepared. So same disclaimer from last time, ain't nothing changed, same thing. So if you are intimidated or scared by wealth or prosperity or talking about death, then this isn't the class for you. Everything isn't for everybody. And if, that's something that intimidates you or scares you, then, you may want to look for another class. Again, no knock to you. Everything ain't for everybody. But if you are like me and you think that, just because you weren't born with a silver spoon doesn't mean your family can't eat off of silver plates, then you are in the right spot. And we are definitely happy to have you and welcome back if you're coming back. If you haven't saw Module 1, definitely go to sixfiguremasterclass.com and rewatch Module 1. There's definitely some good information, some good nuggets there. So as you can see from the syllabus, Module 1 was the 4-figure inheritance, where we showed you how to put the funeral home on retainer, the EFP, the emergency funeral plan, the case studies, and so forth. So in this module, this is the 5-figure inheritance. So how to get the extras without any out-of-pocket costs for your family. So like I said before, so we want to step it up, so that you have the opportunity to, get in where you fit in, essentially. Maybe you're not ready for a 6-figure inheritance yet. So start with 4. Now we're going into 5. We'll get into 6 next week. So definitely make sure you come back for that. So again, module 2, the 5-figure inheritance, how to get the extras with zero out-of-pocket expenses. So let's talk about funerals. All righty. So the median cost for a funeral with a viewing, and this is for burial, according to the National Funeral Directors Association, for last year was about $8,000, right? So this doesn't even include the vault or a lot of the extra things that we see with the funeral. So this is just the funeral with burial. So if you include the vault, which this is the white box here, that's actually the vault that you see in there. So if you include that, you're looking at $9,000 plus for a funeral with a burial. Now, again, this doesn't take into account the cemetery. So if you don't already have your plot already, depending on where you want your plot. So your cemetery is just like real estate. Like you get a deed and everything. And just like real estate, where it's location, 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 it's the same thing with your cemetery plot. If you want a cemetery plot next to the water that you can see the sun coming up, then that cemetery plot is going to cost you a little bit more. But if you want a plot in the back of the cemetery, behind the tree or something, that would be a little less expensive. But that $8,000 is not even including your cemetery plot. It's not including your headstone, as you can see here. So, that can vary by cost. And all the other miscellaneous extras that you see at a normal funeral, your typical average funeral. So your flowers. Your flowers can add up pretty quick. Your obituary, they can add up very quickly. So there are a lot of extras that that your family would have to pay for should you decide not to leave them at least a four-figure inheritance in the amount of $8,000, not including the vault. So you're looking at $9,000 at four figures. So, but there are a lot of expenses and extra costs that are associated with the funeral. Now, you don't have to get all the extras like we talked about in Module 1 with your EFP. You start with a direct cremation or a direct burial. So, but there are different options. So a funeral or cremation funeral with a viewing where you essentially rent a casket. So that can run you anywhere from about $3,000 to about $6,000 or so. So even then it gets pretty expensive. So, there are a lot of things that could add up really quickly. Some of those things or some of those potential out-of-pocket extras that we see at your average funeral, your burial plot, again, can range anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, and it can actually go up higher than that depending on the cemetery and where you want to be. When you purchase your cemetery, you actually also have to pay for the opening and closing of that plot. So when you die, they got to dig the hole, they got to cover the hole. You have to pay for that as well. That's an additional extra that your family would have to come out of should you decide not to leave a inheritance for them to take care of these expenses. Your headstone. So a lot of times the headstone is actually, the cost is based on per letter. So if you want a Bible verse, all the kids' names and all that good stuff, it's going to cost you a little bit more than that just your name and sunrise or sunset. You know what I mean? So that can add up pretty quickly. So if you are a member of Cindy's List Funeral Concierge, then you have the opportunity of getting your headstone for about the $500 range. So, as a member, you have that additional benefit. In addition to the headstone costing, a significant amount of money, so are your flowers. So your average casket spray, so the casket spray is the flowers that you set on top of the casket when the casket is closed. That's actually called a spray. So those can actually start at about $200. If you want a nice one, that's going to start at about $300 plus. So and your flowers can get up there pretty quickly as well. So you got your casket spray, the one on top of the casket, the standing spray. So, if you want to get all those extras. So essentially, your obituary can add up very quickly. So that's based on, do you want magazine paper, you want color, you want high gloss, how many pages do you want, how many photos do you want in the obituary? So all of that takes into account the cost of the obituary. So a lot of times that can add up very, very quickly. So if you want a soloist, the registration book and your death certificate. So in Texas, the death certificates are actually $20 for your first death certificate, and then I believe $3 for each additional death certificate after that. So you usually want to get about 10 death certificates when you request it, because you're essentially going to be sending those death certificates to different organizations that may request them. So the insurance company is going to need a death certificate, or in some cases, maybe you have to send one to your loved one's job to release any vacation time or retirement benefits that they may have accumulated. You may need to send one to the mortgage folks if you had mortgage insurance that would pay off the house. So there's a lot of different places that you would have to send that death certificate. So it's good to get a few. We recommend about 10 or so. At least 5 minimum, but we recommend about 10. So if you were to add up all of these extra charges and out-of-pocket expenses that your family would have to come out of, you're looking at about $3,000 to $10,000, $11,000, 5 figures. How do you get all of these out-of-pocket extras for zero out-of-pocket expense for your family? Drum roll, please. Right? So you can actually accomplish this very simply with funeral expenses or funeral insurance, or AKA final expense insurance, or AKA burial insurance. So they're all the exact same thing. They are all the exact same thing. So you may hear it called final expense, at one place, or hear it called burial insurance at another place, or even funeral insurance by some companies, but they are all the exact same thing. This solution is actually really, really good for paying off those final expenses or funeral insurance expenses, or those extra out-of-pocket expenses that you see at a average typical funeral. So your headstone, the memorial service, the plot, the opening and closing of the grave. So, all of those things. So it is a whole life insurance policy. So what that means is that whatever premium that you're set up with in the contract, you're essentially going to be paying that premium your whole life. Unlike a term policy, you're only paying that premium for a certain term, so 10, 20, or 30 years. So once that term is up, you're no longer paying, but you're no longer covered either. With a whole life insurance policy, you pay for it your whole life, but you are covered and insured your whole life. So if something were to happen to you during any time in your life, then your family would receive that 5-figure inheritance that we recommend that you set up. So that would go to your family to allow them to take care of those out-of-pocket expenses at zero cost for them. Now, one thing to keep in mind though, so your family is not required by law to use those insurance benefits, or that 5-figure inheritance that you're leaving them, for your funeral expenses. Although we would hope that they would, and it actually goes back to the importance of one, making sure that the insurance policy beneficiary and the co-beneficiary or contingent beneficiary, so your backup plan or your backup person, you have to make sure that they are people that you trust and will actually do what it is and carry out your wishes like you want it to. But it also goes back to the importance of making sure that you have your estate planning documents in place. So your will, your power of attorney, make sure you have those things in order. Again, if you are a member of Cindy's List Funeral Concierge, then you would also have the opportunity of getting your will and power of attorney and all of that good stuff free of charge. But because Cindy's List Inheritance Protection is sponsoring this event, by the end of this masterclass, you too will have the option of creating your will and your power of attorney and other estate planning documents completely free of charge. So again, shout out to Cindy's List Funeral or Inheritance Protection for sponsoring this masterclass. So again, save your family those out-of-pocket expenses for those extras. If you set up your 5-figure inheritance, then they won't have to come out of anything, zero out of pocket. So some of the reasons that final expense or burial insurance or funeral insurance is actually good is because it's actually the lower amounts. So the max that you can get for one of these solutions is actually $50,000 is about the max, depending on the carrier that you decide to go with. but because it's a lower amount, there's less underwriting that needs to happen, and your chances of being approved are actually increased. So even if you have some health issues, you still will be able to be covered and approved and qualified for one of these lower amount final insurance or final funeral insurance or final expense policies. So again, you're paying for it your whole life, so it's permanent coverage because you're covered for your entire lifetime. And it also builds cash value. So just like a regular whole life insurance policy, so a regular whole life insurance policy, you can go up to about 5 million if you can show that you have that need and you can pay for those premiums, and you want to take a blood test and a peak test and go through all the paramedics and all that good stuff. Then sure, you can get a whole life insurance policy for $5-10 million, sure. But with these policies, they're maxed at $50,000. So there's no medical exams. There's no blood work that you have to do. There's no peeing in the cup that you have to do. You essentially answer a few medical questions, and based on your answers from those questions is going to determine whether or not you're approved or not. Now, some carriers also do a medical background check and maybe a motor vehicle check, in addition to asking you those medical questions. But even if you have some things on your prescription, or if you have some things on your motor vehicle, or you're not in the best of health, then you still have the opportunity of being approved and qualified for one of these policies. So we specialize in actually finding those folks that are hard to cover. We specialize in getting them covered. So there's essentially 3 types of final expense insurance, or burial insurance, or funeral insurance, whatever you want to call it. There's 3 types that you can get. So you can get a level benefit, which means that it's level across the board. You're going to be paying the same amount across the board. Your premiums will never go up. You'll never lose any of those benefits. So if you got a $10,000 policy, you got a $10,000 policy. It'll never go down to 9 or 8, and it won't fluctuate. So, and again, you're paying that exact same amount every month for the rest of your life. Now, the second kind is the modified benefit. So same thing, once you set your premiums never increase. The benefits never decrease, so you get whatever amount that you set it up for. But with the modified one, what it is that you actually have to wait 2 years before the policy will pay out in full. So if you got a $10,000 policy, then during the first 2 years, if you died during the first 2 years, then they would essentially pay out all the monies that you've put into the policy plus 10%. So I don't know of any bank institution, savings account, or checking account, or that gives you 10% interest on money that you're saving. So this is definitely a lot better than just putting it into a savings account, for example. So if you die within the first 2 years, you get all the money you put in plus 10%. If you die after those two years, then you're paid out the full benefit. So if you had $10,000, your family will get that 5-figure inheritance or $10,000. So now the third one is the guaranteed issue. So the guaranteed issue is exactly that. You're guaranteed to be issued this product if you fit within the age range. Now, even if you have some health issues, you are guaranteed coverage. However, it's a little bit more expensive than the modified and the level. And the modified is a little bit more expensive than the level as well. So, but the guaranteed issue is a little bit more expensive, but you are guaranteed to get that coverage. Same exact thing. Whatever you lock your rate in, your premium at, that's how much you're going to be paying for the rest of your life. It'll never go up. It'll never go down. And your benefit will never decrease. So if you have a $10,000 policy, it's $10,000 policies. But just like a modified benefit policy, there's that 2-year wait. So if you die within the first 2 years, they'll give you your money back plus 10%. If you die after that 2 years, then you get the full benefit. Now, one of the things that is true for all insurance policies uh, is the 2-year contestability period. So, and that's based on state as well. So I think it's 1 year in some states. But the contestability period is essentially the amount of time that the insurance company has in order to look into your application or look into your death. So if you were to die suspiciously, the insurance company actually has 2 years from the date that they approved your application to look into, your death, or to look into, your application. So, if that 2-year contingency period passes, then essentially they have to pay out whatever benefit is in the contract that you signed with them. So, definitely can cover all of those extras out-of-pocket expenses for your family by leaving a 5-figure inheritance. So, again, how much does a funeral insurance policy cost? Well, it depends. So a lot of things and a lot of factors go into determining how much your insurance policy is going to cost. So the number one thing is your age. So the older you are, the more expensive it's going to be for any life insurance. And this goes for if you wanted a whole life, if you want a term life, if you wanted a GUL, VUL, or IUL, it's the same thing across the board. Depending on how old you are, depends on how much it's gonna cost. The older you are, the more expensive. The younger you are, the less expensive, the cheaper, the more cost effective it is. So we highly, highly recommend getting the policy as early as possible because you're essentially locked into that rate for the rest of your life with a funeral/burial/funeral insurance plan. So the younger, the better. We also recommend that you get a policy for your kids while they're young. So all of my kids have a $50,000 whole life insurance policy. So none of them pay more than $15 a month or something like that. So they're going to be paying $15 for the rest of their life for $50,000 in coverage. So when they turn 99 years old, they're still going to be paying $15 for their coverage. So their kids are covered. You know what I mean? So we're looking after the grandbabies now. But the younger they are, or the younger you are, the cheaper it'll be. Also, if you are a man or a woman. So women are just better, period, to be right? So they look over their bodies, look after their bodies more. They're healthier. They go to the hospital, get regular checkups. So their rates are actually less expensive than rates for us, for men. We don't like going to the hospital, so we're not really as healthy as we should be. So women actually get cheaper rates. Shout out to all the women out there running the world. Thank you. Appreciate everything that you do. And so women get cheaper rates. Also, if you are a smoker or not, do you smoke? If you smoke, your rates are going to be more expensive. Now, again, this goes for all insurance policies, all insurance types. If you smoke, it's going to cost you more. If you're a non-smoker, you definitely get a lot more cheaper rates. So definitely recommend, if you don't smoke, don't start. But we actually have carriers that we work with at Cindy's List Inheritance Protection that would actually give you smoker rates if you promise to quit smoking. You know what I mean? So we give it to you for the first 2 years, but if you don't quit the first 2 years, then we jacking your rates back up. So that's an option. So we definitely want to encourage you to stop smoking if you can. But if not, don't fake the funk. You know what I mean? If you ain't gonna stop smoking, go do it. But then also your health. So the healthier you are, the less expensive your funeral, burial, final expense policy is going to be. Now, again, there's no medical exams required for the final expense or burial insurance or funeral insurance, but if you are terminally ill, then you are definitely going to have some trouble getting some coverage. Now, we do have options at Cindy's List Inheritance Protection, which if you watch Module 1, then your emergency funeral plan would be a fit for those that are terminally ill. So, but the healthier you are, the less expensive it is. Now, if you have some health issues, now your odds of being approved are still good, but we can still get you covered, but you may pay a little bit more. And also the state. So Texas has different regulations than New York or California, for example, right? So who needs this expense? Who needs final expense? Who needs burial insurance? Who needs funeral insurance? So these policies are great for those that already have an insurance policy, but they want to leave a little bit more for their family. Or if you have the cash for your funeral and you don't want to use it for your funeral, then this is a good policy for you. Maybe you want to leave something for your favorite organization, your favorite charity, then this is definitely something that they can benefit from, a 5-figure inheritance that you leave for them. Or if you want, if you and my family and you see us building Cindy's List and you want to, leave me a little bit to, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, being family. But if you a favorite person or an organization, then this would be a good policy for you to have. Or if you are going to be, some medical bills or some debts that you're leaving for your family, then, this may actually be a great policy for you as well to pay off those additional medical bills or debts that you may have accumulated. So also, if you got the money, and you just don't want to spend your money, you want to use other people's money. So of course you'll be paying your premium every month. So but if you want to use, the 5-figure inheritance that you're leaving for your family for the funeral bills and not the cash that you've accumulated, then, this is actually a fairly good policy for you as well. But at the end of the day, everybody is different, different strokes for different folks. But if you reach out to Cindy's List Inheritance Protection, they can actually customize a plan to fit your family specific needs. So definitely reach out and we'll customize it for your needs. So let's talk about a case study. Let's talk about James Doe. So James Doe is a small business owner. He's been a small business owner for the last 25 years. So, he's making steady income. Plus his wife still works part-time. So they're doing all right, James currently has 3 children, but all of them are grown. All of them are doing all right for themselves. So, James has a little nest egg, but, about 4 years ago, he decided that, I want to just go ahead and get a $10,000 final expense / burial insurance / funeral insurance policy, just to add an extra 5 figures for my family, just in case type thing, want to leave them a little extra. So James doesn't smoke, and he does have diabetes and high blood pressure, but it's diet controlled. So, he went to the doctor the other day and he said, keep doing what you're doing. Your diet still diabetic prone, high blood pressure prone, but you're doing great. Your numbers look great. Well, James dies of a heart attack 4 years after he gets his policy. Now, because James is outside of the 2-year contestability period, the insurance company, can't go back and look into, James's death. And also because he was on a level benefit plan, James was actually covered day 1 of his policy being approved. So, day 1 he's covered, but, he's got, he's past the contestability period, so his family is good. So his family would receive $10,000, a 5-figure inheritance. So with the funeral / burial / final expense plan, one of the benefits is that, it pays out within 24 to 48 hours. So his family would actually have a $10,000, a 5-figure inheritance that would pay out in 24 to 48 hours to take care of the out-of-pocket extras that they wanted or that he wanted for his funeral. You know what I mean? So his family would come out of zero out of pocket because James decided to leave a five-figure inheritance using a funeral expense, final expense, funeral insurance, burial insurance policy. So five figures for his family. So how much did it cost James to implement this? $24.70 per month. $25 per month. $25 per month to leave a five-figure inheritance for your family or favorite charity. And now this is, James is 45 years old. Now, if you're younger than 45 years old, then you can get it for less than $24.70 in most cases. If you're older than James, then you may pay a little bit more. You're going to pay a little bit more. Also, if you're a smoker, you're going to pay a little bit more. If, you know, we have to go a modified or graded policy or solution, then you may pay a little bit more. But for James' particular situation, and if you're in a similar situation, then for a $10,000 five-figure inheritance to lead to your family or favorite charity, you're looking at $24.70 per month. Now, again, it's based on your age, whether you're male or female, your health, you know, and a lot of other factors. But if you want to leave a five-figure inheritance for your family or favorite charity, if you want to do what James did and leave 10,000, maybe you want to leave 50,000. You know, whatever it is that you decide to do, then reach out to us. You can call me directly. The 832-443-6123 is my cell. But we definitely highly recommend that you call us at the office at 724-624-9297. You can email us info@sixfiguremasterclass.com. Make sure you go out and follow us on social media at Six Figure Inheritance Masterclass Group or on Instagram, the Six Figure Inheritance. Go out to our website and make sure that you register so that you get notifications about the new modules that come out as part of the masterclass. Go to sixfiguremasterclass.com. Again, we will be honored. We would love to assist you with creating your four-figure inheritance or your five-figure inheritance. If you're ready to, you know, if you're an overachiever and want to, you know, get your six or seven-figure inheritance, we would definitely love and be honored to help you with that as well. So, again, shout out to our sponsors of the Six Figure Inheritance Masterclass, My Life, My Legacy. Our sponsor, Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. Make sure you go out to their website at cindysListLLC.com. That's CINDYSLISTLLC.com. So this is your life. This is your legacy. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in Module 3. Excuse me. Well, we'll show you how to leave a six-figure inheritance. So we actually broke that down into part 1 and part 2 because we want to go into depth and make sure you get the information and knowledge that you need to make a informed decision. So look out for the notifications for that. If you're not part of the group or if you're not following us, go out and do that. So that you are notified when the new module comes out. So again, thank you all for joining us for Module 2, the five-figure inheritance of the My Life, My Legacy, the Six-Figure Inheritance Masterclass, sponsored by Cindy's List Inheritance Protection. I am Cecil Ivey. You all have a lovely evening, and I love you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And if it was something you could do about it, I would love you anyway. So you all have a lovely evening.